So the minus that 5.
Yeah.
Do we know anybody that can change that? He's like, I don't wanna do Tuesdays.
But I can't
Good.
say when we're gonna finish,
Right.
so I can set it
Hi,
to
how are you
lock at
doing,
any
Councilmember
point,
Fuller?
but
Good, how are you?
on a schedule
Great,
every single
yeah.
Tuesday.
Enjoying
Like, if there's a hard
the
deadline,
sunshine when
you
it
can do it.
happens.
You have to stay tuned.
Sunshine
I
today.
worked last night, so you know me, I was dark blinds
Oh.
sleeping.
Do you have like a?
This is
like a
my,
back of the
this
house?
is morning, this is
Yeah.
breakfast time. It's coffee.
Do you have to do blackout curtains?
I just have like purple curtains and then I have like blinds, so they're like deep dark. They're almost a black purple, so yeah, that's good, but it doesn't have that backing on it, so,
Out curtains.
and we had a kitten.
When you pull those things.
here,
yeah.
climbed up.
And often my room is dark in the middle of the
And
day.
every once in a while, the sun
Come on,
gets
I mean,
just right, and I'm like.
teach you to sleep
"Oh,
anyway. I can sleep in it even while you're working.
It's
I can do
5.
it.
Special talent. Alrighty,
During the council meetings.
so it's 5 o'clock. We'll bring the meeting to order. We have all the council members and everybody present. So we'll move down to approval of our minutes. If the council members have any comments or corrections needed.
Change it.
No changes on the minutes or anything, so then we'll move down to our first item of business, which are department reports, presentations, and the personnel update.
Good evening. So, most recently on here, we have Debbie Stires, actually was promoted on the March 1st, not, I apologize for that, to administrative specialist 3, and she's joining us here at the end of the day. We have, Fernando promoted to meter reader 1 in April 1st. He was a custodian. So that leaves open a custodian position that will be coming vacant soon. And we also have a judicial specialist joining us on April 16th. Judicial specialist 2. So the court seems to be full of their positions now. But a lot of domino effect in public work stuff that we're looking on filling. Are there any questions?
Yeah, so, and Terry could probably help me out. These are all the new ones? How are you guys doing this with this? Because there's some old stuff on here, new stuff is kind of just an encapsulation of what was going on with that.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll probably take them off soon and just kind of keep it running total, just so you don't have to see all of them and you can get the most of the updated stuff. Looking at one other item, we'll be hiring for our seasonal public work staff pretty soon, probably having to receiving more in April and May.
With the CSO that's retiring and the officer that is leaving, does that leave one CSO and one officer position open, or were those already ones that he was planning to fill? I see that there's a CSO interviews coming up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we are looking to fill the CSO position for Christine Yanez, who's leaving on the 15th. So that community service officer, yes, we're trying to fill that. And we did actually interview previously, but we weren't able to get a qualified candidate. So we went back out and are doing interviews again on the 5th. The police officers, we just filled a lateral. So I think we're at one vacancy on the police officer.
Does that include the one that's leaving? Or because just left, I remember what his last day was. One that's moving back to his home state, I can't remember.
Oh,
For Travis, his
First,
last date was like last week.
Okay, is his spot open or is it already being filled or is nothing?
That's the only one we have open, from my understanding. I was talking to the chief about this recently. That's the only one we have open.
I talked to him yesterday. He's got a couple of people maybe on the line.
Possible applicants or whatever.
What's a Rule 9 intern?
Oh, it's a person who has completed their second year of law school. So law school is 3 years. So they're in the summer between their second year of law school and their third year of law school. And they can have what's called a Rule 9 license. So it's a limited license to practice law under the supervision of an experienced attorney.
Okay.
So it's a really good opportunity to get them real world experience, bring them in. They can intern. That was how Josh Candia, who's our prosecutor, was hired. He was a Rule 9 intern, and then we had a position open and we hired him. So it's really great for the city because we can have like that prolonged interview period before hiring if we have an opening, or just as a way for us to have connections in the legal community and mentor and have outreach in the community.
Awesome.
And we're still looking if you know anyone.
The law part is not my wheelhouse, so I don't know many people in that world.
Gwen, any questions? You've been through this, you guys have done this before, so for my information, like those vacancies that are not yet posted on there, like a maintenance worker, two vacancies, that's still current kind of info.
Yeah, I mean, some of these are being filled by interim individuals or out of class. But the agents worker one, two, and so supervisors will submit a electronic requisition. And then it goes through approvals through,
Sure.
and then once we get that approved, then we can work with the department to get them filled.
So they're actually what it says there. They're like, a maintenance worker that they're vacant, but yet, the approval process hasn't passed through where they decided to advertise for them again.
Yeah, it could have been that they just been approved, or the supervisor is possibly looking to hold it for a current out of class or interim position for someone to fill that.
What about, Jason's last spot? I don't see that on there. Is that coming up soon?
He's kind of currently holding both spots because there's no, you can't say for sure whether he's going to be appointed to that spot and whether council would approve him or not. So we don't want him to go forward and lose his job because he's trying to do such a great job.
I understand. Okay.
If you don't like me, I want to be able to go back to the other job.
He's like, I want job security one way or the other.
All right, and so all the rest of those, like the recreation supervisor, maintenance worker, 3 assistant city engineer, administrative supervisor, they're all kind of waiting internal approvals.
Some of them we're looking at updating the job description, so there could be a number of reasons why we're holding on to those currently, but they're,
The next page,
Um,
shows the assignment, so like the recreation supervisor, main worker 3, and the acting administrative supervisor, they're all in acting, so they're doing out of class right now, which is why they haven't started to open those positions out.
So
Give them an idea.
Some of these are doing these positions.
Yes.
We're working to,
So.
It's kind of a domino effect, essentially.
Sure, yeah, always, yeah, yeah. Okay.
So we're hiring within first, as best we can, and moving people around and then figure
Yeah.
out what's left at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think we've done a great job of promoting people throughout the city whenever possible.
Well, some of them are required, right, still? Is that the union? We have to post internally for a number of days and.
Correct, yeah, for the ask me, we do post internally for 5 days. It might get filled that way, or nothing might happen, or we might get one person, then we want to see how they compare with the rest of the applicants that come in from the outside as well.
Okay. Nice. Anything else? No? Are you here? No? Okay. Next item, of course, is our discussion items, which is the recreation program continued.
So we've brought before you a couple of different documents. One is the meeting highlights that Alex has had with Doug Clevenger from MRAC. And then there's 3 very large pieces of spreadsheets that we wanted to give out to you. One on the big 11 by 17 sheet is what our 2013 actual revenue, excuse me, was per
2013.
Sorry, 2023. My brain is fried from spreadsheets. I commend Sherry for her ability to do these spreadsheets all the time because my brain is numb now. So one of the tops, the shorter legal size spreadsheet is our bars spreadsheet, which is what everything is reported to in Eden and what Sherry will use for the budget cycle.
Mhm.
We have 2017 through 2023, which are the actual numbers that are posted in Eden. And all of 24 is our best guess using the 11/17 spreadsheet of
Hmm.
2023, the actual, and then 2024 is the second one projected.
So you're on 075, 347, 60. And then things are broken out on the bars number there underneath that. Is that, what is that, the revenue stuff?
So the top portion is revenue, the lower portion is expenses.
Okay.
I will add that to the next spreadsheet, so it
And no worries.
says those and
Is there any, because I haven't been in any of the previous discussions, so I'm kind of like jumping in here. And I've reviewed some of the minutes and the videos of the previous discussions. I kind of got an idea, and the mayor and I chatted the other day. I think, to me, one of the big issues is trying to get possible, well, unless somebody has ultra new information that they have a way for this program to make a lot of money, it's probably going to cost the citizens some money. There's some subsidizing that's going to go on at some level. And I've, from what I've heard, nobody wants to just get rid of the whole thing, and they're just not going to toss it away. So we're in a kind of a position, because the mayor's gonna come up with some kind of a budget at some point. And I think that they would probably appreciate some type of a number from the council. I don't know if the full council will have to weigh in at some point. But that's gonna be kind of critical because of the numbers. We're not, arguing about $12. We're arguing about like hundreds of thousands of dollars, plus or minus, is my understanding. So, that's, I guess, where we're gonna be at. There you go. I can't see you down here. I can't see you.
Sorry. And I know the light is coming in too, and I'm already, very translucent, so you'll just have to trust that I'm here. The floating glasses. So David and I actually just got off the phone probably half hour ago, before we got in this meeting. And I think the one thing we have finally come to an agreement, correct me if I'm wrong, David, for the school year starting September 2023 through the end of summer, we are going to be out of pocket of the city's funds close to $500,000. David and I finally kind of came to that agreement. So that is more than what was budgeted, and I think that's where we're kind of all needing more guidance, more than just the mayor's budget. The mayor's budget's never filled a $500,000 gap like that before. So it's a lot of money. Yeah. And so David and I talked about different things we can do. He can talk to you about, possibly raising some of these program fees and what that looks like. Other things we talked about before is going to the school district and asking them for more money than just the 50,000 that they're giving us. Possibly having the mayors or administrators talk the city of Sumner and trying to get them to bring some more money in, possibly having Tahali give us some money because they're attending our programs as well. Another item was the Parks District. So there's options out there, and we're going to need more guidance. 500,000 can't just be absorbed by the city's general fund.
Right, yeah. So what was the time frame on we're looking at, Sherry, on that?
The school year. So we had our first council meeting about this in September of 2023, and that's when we worked out the numbers from when before and after was gone. So September 2023 until the end of the school year or beginning of the next year, August 2024.
Yeah, the current ILA with the school district ends August, I believe.
August 31st.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so we were having issues about the time frame, and David and I sorted all that out literally just before this meeting, and we're finally kind of on the same page. So at least we're there. Now we just have to figure out how to solve it.
right. Well, and for the ILI piece, I'm hearing that it's probably possible that it could be extended, possibly. So,
It is possible, I believe. Yes.
Yeah, so, and then what was the other thing? Oh, so, but the, you know, taking back before and after care seems to be like a non-starter. So
Correct.
that's kind of what I know so far-ish, I think.
So the last, when I last heard from the superintendent, the school district board will be discussing it on the April 17th agenda. And they needed information back from David by April 9th.
Right.
For that ILI or whatever,
Yes.
something like that, which is just basically kind of a continuation of what we have at the very least.
Yes.
And if they
David, what did you say, 2 years?
So the initial ask is to try to get 3 years so we can truly look at, evaluate every aspect of the program to try to figure out how we can bring in other partners, how we can really build it. Because right now we're really looking at our major loss of revenue starting last September. And so when the program takes that big of a hit, here we are 5 months later trying to figure out how to replace $500,000.
Sure, yeah.
Which, going back a couple of years, members of the council did not want the B&A program. And so that, the school district, making sure that the kids were taken care of,
Mhm.
brought in right at school, which has put us in this position of not having enough money to fund the program. So we now have to really truly look down and figure out how we can possibly bring in as much revenue as possible with the staff we have.
Yeah. So do you think where we at, like in your opinion, you know, what do you think, basically? You know, you run the program, right? So are you thinking that, yeah, it's gonna cost me $500,000 or that's just the negative? Is that what it is though? Because there's a cost for the entire program. Or whatever.
Correct. So when Sherry and I talked, she's looking at the September through August, which is kind of outside the box for Sherry because she's very much the fiscal
Yeah,
of our
Sure.
fiscal year.
yeah,
And so that was kind of throwing me off, but she was looking at the school calendar year and I'm like, fiscal year, it's not, which was my roadblock and not understanding where she was. And
Yeah.
so the big Excel spreadsheet is our current best guesstimate for what we're anticipating for 2024 for the fiscal year, not the school year. Our fiscal year, we think we can be under 400,000, but as Sherry has said, if you're counting last fall, because we did not have the before and after care, we're gonna be
uh-huh,
much more than that.
right, yeah. Mhm. Yeah,
And one of the things that's also taken a hit for us is we were anticipating a number of our former B&A staff being able to come in and help with out of school camps, for instance, a spring break camp. Well, because of their agreement with Right at School, they can't do that, which was gonna be like a $4,000 revenue to bring them in for the week of spring break.
Mm.
So there's all these little bits of like camps here and there that we aren't gonna be able to do because of their agreements and trying to find staff.
Mhm.
So we're open for ideas on,
Well, yeah,
Programs to add.
exactly, right. Do you have like any magic where you're saying, oh, I know, I can do this for 300,000? You know, I'm just talking the negative, right?
so realistically, our salary number is about 500,000 for the year.
Yeah.
And so that's the biggest hurdle is trying to come up with the salary recoup.
Uh-huh.
Because as we sit here and plan programs, for instance, down below, all of our other professional services and clothing and uniforms, if we have more people sign up for the programs,
Yeah,
we're also then dispersing more money for those because we're
sure, yeah,
potentially printing more shirts.
Yep.
And vice versa, if we had a lower rental, or I mean, a lower registration, we're gonna have lower fees in that.
mhm.
What's some ways that the city can help advertise rec more? I personally don't see much out there and I don't know where to look. Like, where is it somewhere that we as a city can help the rec program by getting this stuff out there more? I don't know. Do we still get
My Bonney.
that little catalog thing anymore that used to come out and tell us like all the rec program
No,
classes?
well, they do that, through the rec department, just an electronic version. That stopped once COVID came, and so that was cut. But John and I are meeting next week, and that's one of the items I have on my list is just communications in general. And things we have done in the past and what do we want to look at for that.
I see printing and binding used to be an expense. Is that what that was?
Yes,
Probably.
a big chunk of it.
And then, yeah, some of it came out of rec and some came out of the city executive's office, because we had some of it was news and the other half was recreation.
Okay. And because those numbers look really nice in 2019. But of course, it had before and after school program too, still, but.
And I will say that, Councilmember Fullerton had brought in, when we were all meeting with recreation and spitballing ideas, she brought in someone, who does,
Maybe purple.
hometown magazines kind of thing, and talked about trying to, do a recreation program, but have the printing offset by including ads. So it was a great conversation. So that's something that I think you guys can keep in mind as well, is not just have the city and rec pay for the entire printing, but try and find someone local like Andy who can help offset that by selling advertisement space.
Unfortunately, Andy is unable to do that. I've met with him, and since it's a competition because they have the Bonney Lake magazine, so I have met with other printers as well. So the service is out there. It's just us looking at and having a policy and things in place that would allow for them to do the advertising, because they would be in control of that.
And there's a number of
Peter
recreation.
Phillips does it for the city of Des Moines.
Yeah, and I've talked to them.
I was just gonna say, there's a number of recreation departments that sell that brochure filled with ads. And then they also include some city news in that as well. So that's definitely an avenue. And then, we look at certain programs, like for instance, our indoor gym, our indoor play park, which pre-COVID, we'd have a dozen and a half people show up every time. But now we're having onesie, twosies, 3 or 4 show up. So it's one of those, the staff member can sit there and do their work while they're out of the gym, with the gym open, to give the toddlers an indoor play space where it's dry and warm. But do we really want to cut it, because it doesn't bring in a lot of revenue, but it's a good service?
I didn't even know that existed until you brought that up. How do we get something like that to be more well known? Is that we just need to get better at advertising? We need to work, with the district and the city?
I think between the district, the city, we just need to be able to come up with a more robust advertising plan between our website and social media for all of the programs we're doing. And then also add into that a call for people that can be instructors of programs. Like, for instance, is the pottery instructor over at Lake Ridge Middle School interested in doing pottery as an evening program for the community? Coffee tastings at a local establishment in the valley, maybe.
There's a lot of different ideas we can do on painting classes. There's always places that, you gotta think not just kids now, about the adults, older adults, middle-aged adults. There's so many different things we could be building a recreation program to include so many more avenues.
Are we looking at trying to fill that $500,000 gap there, or?
Yes.
Because you probably can't fill the whole gap.
No, I don't think we can fill the whole gap currently, but I bet you we could fill a big portion of it if we get some more opportunities for people to do things.
So in the recreation industry, the rough number is about a 70-30 cost recovery. So for $1 million budget, the goal is to get over around 700,000. Last I talked to Maple Valley, they were only at 59%. And that was coming out of COVID.
So 70 for who?
Well, if we spend $100,000 on recreation, we're going to bring in 700,000. So then the city would have to chip in an extra 300,000 to balance the budget.
I think Councilmember Fullerton's question, David, has to do with actual programs and what the amount goes to the instructor.
70,
And I
30
was-
split.
Yeah, how you said you have a 70-30 split. It just happened to be the same. You said 70-30 for
Right.
cost recovery. Yeah.
Right. So when we do, like, for instance, if you look on, let me find a good one, we'll just say Osborne Karate. That's gonna be a bad example, but I'm gonna use it anyways. Let's say with Osborne Karate, if the fee is $100 and they need a gi as part of their $100 registration fee. We, as a city, will take 30% straight off the top. So that's $30. Then the gi fee would get taken out of what is left, the 70%. So we'll just say it costs them $20 for the gi. So we're up to $50 in expenses out of that. Then we would give them the last $50 as part of their 70% to host the class for us.
What is a gi? Is that
It's
like
the
uniform?
karate outfit, the white.
So we're giving them money for the uniform that the adult is gonna be wearing?
That would be part of the registration fee.
Okay, so I'm just looking at. There has to be a way that we are not covering the cost of a uniform. People need to purchase their uniform. It should be a registration fee for signing up for the class. And then you can do like a certain percentage of that registration fee can go to the instructor.
I think
70-30 or whatever,
It's-
but
so-
then
Go
as
ahead.
far as the uniform goes, there should be no cost recovery for that uniform. Like you're saying that we're paying for that and then,
No. I think
Councilmember
Sherry has a
Fullerton,
better-
yeah. Since I've talked to both of you, I feel like I'm kind of the mediator here. I kind of know both of what you're asking. So, yeah. So basically,
okay,
David's saying, if he charged $100 for the fee, the registration, the city's gonna get $30. $20 is gonna go towards paying for the white uniform. And the $50 is gonna go to the instructor for teaching the class for every participant. That's how it'll break out. That's how the current model is working.
And that's kind of how I've seen other programs do it too. Like when my son was doing karate, this was our initial fees. This is how much we paid to get his uniform to the karate instructor. And then we paid our monthly fee after that, in addition to that.
So maybe soccer is a better analogy to use because everyone on the team has to have a matching uniform. So when we are figuring out the cost for soccer, we know that our current rate for t-shirts is about $14 a t-shirt right now. So we, instead of charging $15 for kids to play Pee Wee soccer, we know that we're charging $14 right off the top to be included. So you're paying one price for soccer and not, oh, now I gotta buy this, I gotta buy that, I gotta buy this. Which when you get into the more competitive, non-recreational leagues, the organizations will have you go in and piece together your kit, your soccer uniform, where you have to pay the club a certain amount of money, you have to pay for your socks, you have to pay for your shorts, you have to pay for this and you have to pay for that. Where what we're doing is we base the price to be competitive with the neighboring communities, to include all of that, so it's one price, knowing that we're paying out that extra pieces. So, I mean, we could look at it, that we're going to charge $14 for the shirt to participate in the program. It's going to be $15 for this, $18 for that, and piece it out. The downside to trying to piece out like that is now when we're going to receipt the money, how much time is it taking to receipt that money based on all of those different spots for the needs?
Can you raise, if you raise the registration fee a little bit to recover more than 30%, is that going to come out of the uniform as well as the instructor?
It would come
So
out of,
instead of charging $100, say you charged $125, but that $25 you can mark as like processing fees and uniform costs or whatever, but that $25 does not go towards the instructor. That goes towards the city to recover something.
I mean, we could look at adding a processing fee. We do something similar to day camp. Keeping in mind, though, that there are neighboring communities that are very close that have very similar programs near the same price point. And some actually, they're the same price point.
Are they $600,000 in
Yes,
the negative?
Puyallup pays quite a bit of money from their general fund to fund recreation. I don't know what the exact number is, but most communities will provide a certain percentage to fund their recreation department because it's a valuable asset.
Is there any way that you can do shopping around? Because I know that t-shirts, even in today's market, should not cost.
I'd be happy to look at any
$14.
companies provide.
There's all colors in Parkland. And that's all they do is sports, but they do actual screen printing and they can do embroidery work. And I paid for a polo shirt with embroidery. I think we paid $5 and we sold the t-shirts for 10. And then when we had the t-shirts that were screen printed, not iron on, they were screen printed with paint and high quality. You can pick your quality of t-shirt. Those were about $2.50. Now this, granted, this was 10, 12 years ago, something like that, right? So
Yeah.
I'm sure they're closer to $5 now, but they still, it's in bulk. So the more you order, the less you're gonna pay. And
I think you'd be surprised if you even
They do.
reached out to them, how much more the t-shirts are these days.
have you actually spoke to All Colors?
Not to all colors, but we've
Yeah.
talked to a number of different t-shirt companies. And t-shirts are not cheap right now.
Sherry, do you have an idea of what you're currently projecting? Like, cause it's running now or what have you, and have some kind of a general fund contribution to this expense, right? Per se. We obviously are putting money into it now from the general fund, right? Something?
Yeah, so my emails have been going out to everyone.
Yeah.
As of when we met in September and we talked about making my head work around the school year at
Right.
that meeting, David thought that he would need 150,000 from the general fund. Right now, it's looking like it's going to be closer to 500,000 from the general fund.
Well, that's forward though. Do you know where we're at today kind of thing with that, I guess?
Yeah,
Or this-
as of today, 354,000 in the hole as of today from September through February.
What we're thinking, huh? Yeah.
Not what we're thinking, that's
So-
actuals. We're actually
I
in
know
the,
you're
bra-
accounting. Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
I
so
just-
my question is, if you're like 354 in the red right now, it's like, oh, okay, well, if I gotta go 500 to run this whole thing, it's like, can I do that?
I
Just
mean,
asking.
the council has to agree to that, right? It's not a decision I can make. You guys agreed to 150. He's
Oh,
already,
no, the reason I was asking was because, we're talking about having to make some kind of a general fund contribution. I'm just kind of thinking out loud, right? And I just don't know what that is or what that can be, because, I'm kind of hearing that, oh, if you try to pull $500,000 and put it over into this program, it's gonna be really hard to make a budget up for that. Or not, but
I
I'm
don't-
hearing that we've already done 345.
well,
I think the issue is the ongoing, right?
Yeah.
If you're gonna put $500,000 into this ongoing, eventually we won't have a general fund,
Right?
right?
Right.
Yeah, you can't run in the
Correct.
negative. Exactly, yeah. Well,
no,
but-
there is not money. Right now, I'm looking like we're 150 over because you already approved that he would be 150 in the red. So really right now, as we said, I have to figure out how to come up with another 150,000 to support this. And now he's telling me it's going to be another 150 for spring and summer. So
Right.
really it's going to be 300,000.
Yeah.
So no, I don't have answers on how to balance this.
Yeah, no, I just didn't know if the revenues were coming in way over, the ongoing
No.
reoccurring sales tax, whatever.
No,
money
as
is-
you've seen, the sales tax is, unfortunately, as I projected and budgeted.
Yeah.
I'll be working on the next week. So those aren't coming in any higher. There's the only thing that's going to save you right now is the COVID money that we got for quote lost revenue. That's the only thing
That's
going to
that's
save you.
one-time money, though. That's kind of a
Correct.
one-time money. Yeah.
Correct.
Couple thoughts on this. One thing that I think we all need to think about and put back into our brains is we have expected a program to start turning money when we just took away their source of revenue.
Mhm.
And we can't expect anyone to immediately take on money and start making a profit when we took away a before and after school program, which was their primary source of revenue, and that shows in the spreadsheets.
Mhm.
And
Correct.
so, but if we're taking away money, we're telling them, hey, you're not gonna have this source of revenue, which was a big part of this budget that I'm seeing right here. You have hundreds of thousands of dollars coming in from before and after school programs.
Yeah.
I
so-
don't disagree with you.
It's just kind of going, okay, how can we're not giving any advertising opportunities for a program. We don't have a before and after school program. We don't have extra rec staff from that before and after school program. We need to, as a city, come up with a solution to help the rec program find their footing, get back onto their feet. And how do we help them grow with solutions, not just negatives?
Well, okay. That's a lot to unpack. Not just negatives. I'm sorry, but the budget is negative. I can't make it a positive. When it comes to we didn't give them time, I would disagree with you there because we did have these discussions at council meetings that when you were not a council member, to which the entire council agreed and to which David agreed he would only need 150,000 to run the program from September of 2023 through August of 2024. And I'm telling you right now, it's looking more like 500,000. And even at that September meeting, if you go back and listen, I expressed then I didn't think it would be 148. Losing B&A was huge. I'm not going to disagree with you there. David's not going to disagree with you there. But it was represented that we could do it for 148. I wish at that point we would have said, there's no way we can do this for this. It's going to be 500. Let's make up our minds on what we plan to do. I have presented options. I have talked about, it's not my job. I'm just finance, right? I'm doing the budget. But I've talked about having someone go talk to Tahali, have them contribute. Go to the city of Sumner and have them contribute again. Go to the school district and have them contribute. I've been putting out ideas, a parks district, go out for a parks district. There are ideas. You're not solving this through registration. You're not solving this probably on the recreation side. There are other programs. I'm looking at Puyallup because David mentioned Puyallup, and there is a preschool and pre-kindergarten before and after ESC type classes that, that looks to be like a pretty good moneymaker, if you will. I'm not sure that that's something we have the staff to do. That's not my bailiwick. The other big programs here look like these, competitive fast pitch and competitive high baseball. These are $2,000 to get into. So I agree. There's other programs out there, Councilmember Hubler, that can be looked at to add to it, but you're not getting close to the 500.
No, and I get we're not going to on our own, but as a city, we have to figure this out. And yes, I agree. I'm actually meeting with the superintendent tomorrow morning at 9:30. So I will be sitting down and talking to her about that. I'm sitting down with the city assembly. Yes, all of those are options that we need to take on because other people need to be helping. If we're doing stuff in the city of Sumner, they should be helping. If we're doing stuff with the school district and it's saving them money, we need to be making sure that they're helping as much as possible. I know 50,000 isn't very much, but I feel like every meeting that we've had has been this, we have to figure this out right now. And I know we're not going to, but I just want everybody to just kind of like look back at it and go, okay, how do we build this program? How do we do this together? How do we not make it Rex's fault on the negatives? And I get that, if I didn't know finance, I would probably have been like David and been like, yes, I think we can do this for $148,000, but without your education, Sherry, he has no idea what he's doing in that world. He's just trying to figure it out as he goes. And so we just kind of try and figure out how we can work together to make this all work. I mean, I'm looking at how much does the senior center cost the city every single year? So we're supporting a senior center program, but how much do we lose as in that program with their bus and their food and having the senior center open? Do they pay program fees? Does anything come in from that for revenue? What's kind of like an overview? I've never seen that one. So I just want to see what's an overview of what they cost us?
I'd have to pull up the budget. I don't have it up right now, but they do charge for some of their, if they do trips, they also charge for, people pay donations for the meals, that sort of thing. I'm not saying they operate in the black either. They don't. But what I'm saying is we had a budget that was operating in the black and the council chose to get rid of the before and after. And this is what we're left with. I'm left already with a $2 million biennial budget hole. So how do I fill a $2.5 million hole is what I'm asking.
Yikes.
Yeah. How does the mayor solve a $2.5 million hole? I mean, it's bigger than just recreation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
I do have a quick comment because I was the first order of business when I became a council member was we're getting rid of the Parks and Rec program. We're not going to sign the ILA. So and I was very concerned about that. And I know that we had a lot of community members come. By the time we were able to organize a committee, Dr. Dent had already been in the process of trying to find alternate programs because everybody kind of went into panic mode when we said, oh, we're not going to sign this ILA. We're not going to renew it after 5 years. And so by the time we had a committee meeting, trying to figure out what we were going to do, the school district had already been looking at before and after programs. We had a few council members that were absolutely against the before and after program, even going as far as calling it a babysitting service. I did understand at the time that that was what was carrying the whole entire program. And I did have hopes that we would be able to keep that. I don't think that the council literally voted to get rid of the before and after program. It was kind of presented that that's what was going to happen. when I ended up at a committee meeting. So, I mean, I can't really blame the council too much because by the time we were able to get together and start discussing that before and after program, there were already, they already had been looking at programs and had brought the brochures to the first couple of meetings for the right at school. So there wasn't, at that point, there was not a whole lot that could be said to save that program because the school district was, and with good reason, was in desperation because they needed to have that before and after set up for the next year. So it wasn't something that I would have, because I understood that it brought in the revenue, and that's not something that I wanted to happen, but at that point, there wasn't a whole lot of saving it. So then we have to get on board with the school if we want to continue to have an ILA just of anything. So we did understand that there was going to be big losses, but there has to be some kind of possibly a renegotiation of this 70-30 split. You know, maybe even if it could be a 40,
40 something.
yeah, something, but just to, and then somehow there has to be a way to bring down some of these expenses. So if the clothing and uniforms is part of the expense of the registration, then charge $2 or $3 more, so for a uniform piece, and you can still make it one cost, but to raise it, $5 for registration, uniform, and everything included, if you're making $5 off of that, then, that's $5 that we weren't making before. Or, call it a processing fee that you don't have to pay the coach or the teacher or the, whatever, but there has to be a way to raise some of the costs, we've got to recover more than just 30% because that's going to help bring up the bottom line a little bit. And if we start adding $5 here and $5 there, you put $5 on everything for every single child, every single adult, that's going to add up over time. But at least if we can get those cost recovery up somehow, some way. But I mean, the bottom line is like, we literally can't afford to be paying $600,000 or $500,000, even $400,000 a year. We're literally running out of the money from COVID. And that was supposed to benefit the entire community, not just a small group of people. This is a large group of people, but it's still not everybody. So we did take some of that money and we put it towards the water district so that we could lower the costs as best that we could. So we are trying to be, responsible, and nobody wants to get rid of this. So I understand where you're coming from, and I absolutely don't want to have this go away, but there has to be more of a cost recovery. We've got to add money from somewhere.
100%.
David, can you do a 60-40 split? Would that get rid of your instructors? How would that impact the program? Do you think they would go for that?
I think we'll lose a lot of instructors. But Alex, thoughts?
I mean, we can always ask. It does not hurt to ask, but we do have neighboring communities. So, if we aren't giving what they want, you can go start to run well and get 70%. But I mean, we can always ask.
Has anybody, I mean, I guess I'm assuming no, but I'm still gonna ask it. Has anybody sat down with Puyallup and asked them how they run their rec program?
That would be a question for recreation folks, not me. I run a budget.
I can find out what their overall general fund is added to their program, but they are also quite a bit larger of a area than we are. So although it's comparing fruit, it's not necessarily apples to apples.
Right, and they also have their own facility that we don't have a facility, so they're able to charge for their facility, which we don't have.
Right.
How go the talks with MRAC, MRFC, and a public-private partnership?
We gave you the list of the conversations that Alex has had, and when we've asked what it could look like, we're kind of still waiting. At least that's from my perspective of,
Right.
if they were a contractor, what could they provide?
But wouldn't that like make the situation worse, I guess, right?
Well, if we turned over Pee Wee soccer that would take out, just looking up at the biggest spreadsheet on projected Pee Wee soccer, total revenue of 2,900.
Sure.
We have very few expenses for that. So if we're joining a partnership with them, we're basically flipping those numbers.
So I guess my question is, have you talked to him?
I have not talked to Doug since September.
Okay. Can we talk?
Sure.
Right? I think that is
What
the
would you,
appropriate
Okay.
space to start, right?
Okay.
Did we have a discussion whether they can help them? Because maybe they can't,
So-
right? I don't know.
what's your vision
But-
on what you think they can help? Just so I can fully understand, because the way I look at the numbers is if we treat them like a contractor in a partnership, we're only going to get the registration portion of the 30%. Soccer is one of the bigger items that we have. So they are taking the lion's share of our soccer revenue, which is going to be similar to a B&A where we're giving away the bigger portions of our program. But I'll go talk to Doug and see what Doug feels that they can do to add to the program. Because the way I see it right now, it would be a negative on the program.
Okay, and that's possible, right? And I just want to know that. If it's a negative, then we can move on, right? But if we don't talk, we don't know. And right now, it's like a big question mark. And I typically like to think, I believe that typically government doesn't do a lot of things well, and it's very expensive. And not that you're not doing a great job, but like, that's just big government and all that kind of stuff. And that private partnerships can kind of bridge some of those gaps. And I think, we've asked to talk back in September, and if that still hasn't happened, I feel like we need to start that process. And if it's an immediate, it's not gonna work,
Well,
great, then let's get it done so we can move on.
and
Some
we've
of it should.
given
work,
you the
though.
conversations
I think
that
so.
Alex has had with Doug.
What's that?
There's a breakdown of the conversations that Alex has had with
I
Doug.
don't, I have that?
So
Here's an extra one.
we're getting.
So I know I've seen Alex and Doug meet quite a bit. They meet at my shop most of the time, and it always seems like Doug doesn't really have any vision or ideas to bring forward. I've heard the questions from him asking Alex, like, what do you guys want? And so I don't feel like MRAC has a vision yet. I think they want to have a vision. That's like when I've talked with Doug and to Scott and all, it's like they want to have a vision and they want to grow the rec program of MRAC, but they don't seem to have anything in mind quite yet of like what they could do for us to help us as a city. I think for them, they would want to take over all sports. It's what my understanding, like in my conversations with Doug, is they just want to take on all sports. So then that doesn't help us, come up with revenue to cover anything either. But if they took over sports, then could we grow other programs? Could we grow other partnerships with others? Like I think David brought up like the pottery, or maybe it's painting classes, or maybe there's some.
I learned how to
I
cake
love it.
decorate
Yes.
doing that.
I have a lot of people that come in my shop that they're driving all the way out to Gig Harbor for their kids to do cooking classes. Is there somewhere that we could partnership with a restaurant to do?
We did it at the
cooking
high
classes?
school.
See, I did perfect.
I did cake
cool.
decorating and cooking and baking at the high school.
See, we
And-
have
and
an
middle school.
amazing chef right here in our city limits. So just things like that, where maybe we could come up with other opportunities to partner. And I think if we could get an opportunity to put together that brochure thing, that magazine thing that used to come out, I loved seeing that. So I was like, ooh, there's dog obedience classes. or something like that, I always thought that was really neat to be able to read through that. Yes, there was the updates from the city and things like that. So whether we can come up with something that I personally, I pay for an ad in the, Bonney Lake magazine. And, it goes to all the residents on Staten Island for my business. So, I mean, I'm paying him $300 some a month. So imagine if I'm willing to pay that and you guys have the opportunity as a city, or we as an opportunity as a city, have the, something like that for the whole city. Man, that $300 was so much better spent for me as a business to go out to the entire city. Just, something like that.
Yay, sounds like ongoing conversations, clearly, right?
There's a lot. And Sherry,
Think so?
please know, I always know you are doing an amazing job.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
job is one of the hardest that we have in the city. I know that.
You accountants, come on.
I mean, money's hard. It's hard to keep track of it all.
It is, yeah. it's
And
very
disperse it all.
complicated, especially in a governmental entity. So I don't know if we can, I'm hearing the mayor and it's probably gonna have further conversations, David and staff and everything, I don't hear a number yet that we're playing with kind of thing. So I don't know, it'd be interesting for the, mayor administration to come up with some kind of an idea of a target number that, that you can float to the council. So that the council could say, oh, yeah, okay, or whatever it is. And
Yeah.
sounds like it'll be a larger number for a little while. Maybe it'll track down.
We
Yeah.
got this, guys. We got this.
If
We're gonna-
Mayor,
So, yeah. Mhm.
this is an item that we've had like just continuing on the,
Yeah.
agenda. Would you like
Yeah.
to, like it?
Yeah, if
Continue?
you think, is it gonna be too early to have it next time again, or?
I think, we need to have continuing, I mean, this stuff just came out today, right? I saw it here. It's not really a lot of time to look at it before we came in here and started talking about
Yes.
it.
Okay,
So, yeah.
we will continue to
Yeah,
have it
I
on
think
there.
giving you guys a chance to, you to go through it, figure out,
Mhm.
what you can see and what opportunities you can work with inside staff on, and then if.
Oh, and
I'll
by,
help you.
and by the way, I've heard that the B&O is something that'll take a little while if we decide to go down that route. So,
Mhm.
cause it'll be complicated. It's not like something you can turn on overnight, and they're dealing with all their accounting stuff they have to do internally, which may take even longer.
For me.
Open committee discussion. Is there any items left in that area?
No,
No?
but how do we bring the B&O stuff back forward to talk about some more?
Yeah, we
opportunities?
can put that on the agenda. We can talk to it here. I'm glad to talk about it at the next, if we don't take up all our time talking about the other things, right?
So Sherry can give you a lot more information on that at the next meeting.
Yeah, definitely, that'd
We've
be good.
discussed it already.
Yeah.
I know you and I talked
Yeah.
about it a little
Yeah.
bit. So.
So in the quick condensed 1 minute version, because I know we don't have a lot of time, what Deputy Mayor was referring to, it's going to take about a year because I have to work with 2 other places to get us on board. But the key is it's going to be like $25,000 to get the system to work with our system. And we're in the middle of probably switching software. So you're not going to want to pay that $25,000 twice. Chuck's going to be bringing that forward like in June, July, with the hopeful start date of October on transitioning the software over. So we can't even really think about B&O before October. And then it'll take a year from when we can implement. So
Okay.
it's a process.
No, that's good to know. That's what I want to know is like, how's the process start? And then we as a council can start discussing if we want to do it.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
not do it.
So we have to buy a license from Bellevue and then we have to pay this guy, oh, I'm sorry, it's 50,000. My notes are about a year old, $50,000 to make it work with our system. So I don't want to pay that twice, obviously.
We gotta run. Thank you, Sherry. Thanks, everyone.
The meeting adjourned.
Oh.
Adjourned.
Thank you.